So another one of my grumps is when it comes to the need for detoxifying patients for heavy metals. So what do we have that's evidence-based? Well, a number of things, but for example, we have garlic. Garlic has been shown in 2 clinical trials, and it's probably the sulfur compounds that have the affinity for the heavy metals to remove and ameliorate the toxicity of lead. Human clinical trials. And yet, time after time, when I talk to colleagues and we get onto the topic of heavy metal detoxification, they say, and this is worldwide because, of course, I do travel the world speaking to therapists and lecturing. Worldwide, they say, yes, of course, I'm using cilantro. So what's cilantro? Coriander leaf. It's wonderful in your guacamole. I use it every day. I have guacamole, it's in there. But does it detoxify heavy metals? Well, we have a few studies in rats and mice, but to me, the results show that it's probably not going to detoxify heavy metals anything more than any other sort of leafy material. So, go out and use your lawn clippings, put them to good use. But so where does this thinking about cilantro come from? Well, it comes from some journal articles that were written. Now, this course is no longer in existence, but I developed a master's degree at the Australian University of New England in Armidale, New South Wales. And one of the exercises in evidence-based critical thinking I gave the students was, what's the evidence? Review the evidence for cilantro in heavy metal detoxification. And it all comes down to a couple of papers that were published in a journal. I can't remember the title, but something like the Journal of Acupuncture and what have you, and said by this one researcher. And guess what? He was also the editor and he owned the journal. So much for critical peer review of his work. He was just using this journal to put forward his own publications, his own writings. So how did he assess in a range of patient studies that cilantro detoxified heavy metals? He used a kind of, subjective technique, let's put it this way. He used the O-ring technique. So what do? Is the patient does that, and you assess the strength of that. And if it's stronger, well, you've got more mercury out of them. And if it's weaker, you haven't. What the? Honestly, really? It's there. You can look these papers up. But that's the whole basis, apart from the rats and mice study, which I think are discountable. That's the whole basis for the use of cilantro for heavy metal detoxification. Again, we are better than that. Look at the evidence, dig deep, be critical. Look at the evidence-based options, not this herbal mumbo jumbo. So please don't talk to me ever about using cilantro for heavy metal detoxification until there's a proper placebo-controlled clinical trial where, guess what? Rather than that, they actually use measuring body tissues for heavy metals to assess if it's working.